So now I want to focus on what is it like for someone who is confined to minimum wage work. And I want to point you to the book Nickel and Dimed. This is on our supplemental reading list, and I encourage you to pick it up. This author, who's a New York Times bestselling author now, took a year of her life and traveled around the country and only took minimum wage jobs. And the book is Nickel and Dimed, and really it's about how she figured out how, if or how she could survive on this minimum wage work. So I want to walk you through a typical year in the life of someone who is confined to minimum wage work. Just reminding you, in 2009, the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 4, income must fall below $22,000, and for a family of 3, the income must be below $18,310. With that, I want to talk you through about how much money this is per month. A lot of you are most likely college students, and so $22,000 might feel like a big number, but actually when you start breaking it down by weeks and days and months, it's not exactly what you think that it is. So I want to walk you through someone who might be a typical average worker at a place like Taco Bell. This person's making about $8 an hour. They're working, if they work 40 hours a week, they will earn about $16,640 for the year. That's going to be their gross income, which is the total amount of money that they earned. But for those of you who work, you know that the government takes out taxes, and we pay things like sales tax and tax on food and tax on clothing. And so when you take the gross income and you subtract out the taxes, you get what's called your net income, and that's the money that's in your pocket that you have to operate on. When you look at tax structures, that's a really key piece of the puzzle when we start looking at people that are in poverty and cycles of poverty. And unfortunately, here in the state of Alabama, we have some of the highest taxes on some of the lowest earners in our state. So we're one of the few states that still has a tax on food, and it's actually quite high. And so when you look at taxing and tax structures, it's important to note how those structures are set up, and then also who they affect the most. So if you're someone who only earns $16,000 a year, and then you look at paying income tax and then also sales tax and then also a tax on food, you can see how drastically your income can be reduced and how quickly. When you look at also, as I've pointed out, a lot of people on food assistance here in our state are single working mothers. So you can take out the cost of childcare, which can be quite expensive. An average daycare here in our state is between $100 to $150 a week. So again, that's a fairly substantial chunk of someone's income. Then you also look at transportation costs, and with rising gasoline prices, those are only going to increase. And then you look at even healthcare costs. In one of the lectures in this unit, I mentioned the book, excuse me, I mentioned the film As Good as It Gets, and I think Helen Hunt's character in that film really walks you through the struggles that people that are single moms whose child might be ill or might have a health condition, who are confined to minimum wage waitressing jobs, just what exactly it is to live in that place. So going through, say you've qualified for SNAP, you've gone through that application process. Under the current guidelines, a family of 3 earning about $1,400 a month or less is eligible for the maximum benefit of $463 a month. But most people don't qualify for that maximum benefit, and what they actually qualify for is a portion of the benefits. So if you're at right at the poverty line, you would qualify, or just above, you would qualify for about a little over $200 per month for food, giving you a weekly food budget of $52. If you can imagine trying to feed a a family of 3, if you have, a single working parent and 2 kids, and your weekly food budget is only $52, there's not going to be a whole lot of food choices for you. And I want to walk you through on this slide. I know it's kind of dense, but it points out what are the guidelines and rules for what you can qualify for with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP benefits can only be used to buy food or plants and seeds to grow food for your household. Sales tax cannot be charged to items purchased with SNAP benefits, but SNAP benefits cannot be used to buy any non-food items, so no pet foods, no paper products, household cleaners, things like that. You also cannot buy alcoholic beverages and tobacco, vitamins or medicine, or any food that will be eaten in the store, or any hot foods. So you can imagine, generally when people are trying to eat healthy, nutritionists will encourage them to eat around the periphery of the grocery store. So buying things that are fresh, buying things that are not boxed or canned. Those are the most nutritionally dense foods. But if you look at how the SNAP benefits work, you see that those foods are generally, for the most part, off limits to people that are confined to this condition. So they're having to buy lots of cereals, pastas, boxed foods, canned foods with these benefits. So just thinking about the type of nutrition people are getting with those boxed and canned foods, although some of them are nutritionally good, some of them unfortunately are not. And so this is why you see a lot of people in poverty dealing with obesity issues, is because they're confined to these high caloric foods that have less nutrition. And so that's kind of the paradox of how you can be obese but then also struggle with malnutrition at the same time. And it's quite a large problem in the more impoverished places of our state.